Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So for the first time in my life, I have my intermittent fasting and my no fap under control simultaneously. I've been struggling with balancing these two quite a bit. I've had times where I didn't fap, but I ate a lot to compensate for it. I've obviously had times where I went on very long intermittent fasts, but I compensated by fapping the whole time. And I've had a hard time balancing the two. Actually, to be honest, I the only time when I really did it was to support a friend who had a religious holiday. She was doing a fast for Yom Kippur, and you're not supposed to masturbate either. I think before this time around, that was the longest I had ever successfully pulled off both. Usually one compensates for the other. But this time around, I've been able to do it, and I feel so good. I can't resist wanting to talk about it every chance I get, which is really annoying because I really don't have friends that where this is really appropriate to bring up. Only the fasting part, and even that's a little bit borderline inappropriate. I work at a tutoring center, and one of the kids, her mom had came in really upset at me because she had heard that I had been doing intermittent fasting, and she said that her daughter had like body image issues or something like that. So I can't talk about fasting all that much either. I mean, at best, I might refuse some food and say I'm fasting. I definitely can't talk about no fap. So it's a very lonely journey, but I feel so good at the same time. I think part of the reason I've been doing so well this time around is because I'm on vacation where I can actually feel free to talk about this with people, right? At the hostel where I'm staying at, it's somewhat okay to talk about I certainly have to talk about fasting because people will see it, right? And the no fap, with the kind of people that I'm staying with, it's kind of okay to talk about too, right? I think that's what's really helping me this time is the ability to actually talk about it. And then with you guys as well, obviously. Now, I do want to be cautious about something because last night I was reflecting on why I had lost my 69-day no-fap streak last winter. And I came to the conclusion that the no-fap was a victim of its own success. What do I mean by that? Well, during the time I wasn't fapping, it opened up this creativity portal. It forced me to explore new things. So what did I do? The first thing I did was I discovered how to make art out of bismuth, among other metals. And then I went to network with a lot of people. I was living in Seattle at the time, and I had met this Ukrainian refugee. And then it inspired me to look at opportunities here or in the Phoenix area, and I landed a job there. Obviously, I could do better there, but it allowed me to put a foot in Phoenix. A lot of times when I apply for jobs, especially the better ones in Phoenix, people say, "Well, you're in Seattle. Why are you coming to Phoenix?" And now that I have the foot in Phoenix, it makes it so much easier to look. I could have moved here, but then I would be unemployed. That would have been its own can of worms too. So having that job, even if it wasn't optimal, kind of uh, was a stepping stone, right? I and it also, when I got the job here, it forced me to speak up for myself and quiet quit and all that. And I grew a lot during the quiet quit. I mean, even if I don't get everything that I want, it's not a complete loss. But and then I got here. I was networking with people and making a lot of bismuth art, and I distinctly remember the morning that I had relapsed. I had been up 3 nights in a row making bismuth art. I haven't been taking care of myself. I wasn't eating right. Finally, I took a shower, and when I got out of the shower, I just felt so romantic toward myself. Like proud of myself for what I've been doing with the bismuth art, with the fact that I had just moved to Phoenix, and I gave in. And I want to avoid such a mistake this time. But at the same time, I don't want to stunt all the progress that I'm getting from NoFap, right? So it's kind of a weird conundrum, right? That the NoFap could be such a victim of its own success, right? Now, there is a big difference between NoFap and intermittent fasting. There's a big contrast to it. With intermittent fasting, you could actually, in theory, die at the end of it, right? But you feel good while you're doing it. The NoFap is just the other way around, right? Nobody dies from NoFapping, but you feel horrible, right? So it's kind of just the mirror image. It's kind of interesting how that turns out, right? But I want to point out something. If the end result of intermittent fasting were that you die, let me ask you, what are you comparing it to? You're comparing it to binge eating every day and not having a life and having your life being punctuated by needing to eat all the time, right? That's not living. I'd rather have a good 1 or 2 months and then die rather than just have 80 years of constantly being punctuated once a day, twice a day, having to feed this nonstop monster, right? The price of food keeps going up. The schedule keeps getting more and more inconvenient. You can't find time to eat. And the life just becoming more and more complicated. If we can get rid of eating, right? For one thing, I think I could do my job a whole lot better if I didn't have to think about meal prep and the time of eating, right? All right. Well, that concludes my podcast for now. I'm doing very good with both the intermittent fasting and the no fap. For the first time in my life, I've been able to put those two things together. Usually, those two are at odds with each other. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum